Well, happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, April the 28th, and welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Tom. Well, oftentimes in my opening monologue or in my closing, I will refer to history, whether actual happenings or what I call the perils of yesteryear. In the South, those particular types of circumstances are pretty easy to find. In many cases, or I say in my case, they have been a big part of my life. This past weekend, I visited with someone who was a part of my historical yesteryear. After a weekend of visiting my alma mater, Auburn University, I made a quick trip across the tracks, as we used to call it. Across the tracks back then meant you were leaving the university side of town to go to the black side of town. My quick trip was to the barber shop for a visit with my old friend Rush. I met Rush in a different time, circumstance, and culture. You see, Rush ran the barbershop where the early pioneering black athletes at the university went to get their haircuts. Yearly, when new black athletes were brought to campus, we were steered to Rush's barbershop. The downtown white barbershops would not cut our hair. This was not 100 years ago. It was the 1970s and the 1980s. Rush filled that void. Rush drove the morning school bus, and then he opened his shop to cut hair. In the afternoon, he again drove the school bus to take the children home. But visiting Rush took me back. Inside the shop is a wall that holds framed photos of the many black athletes that had been to his shop. The era of the barbershop went from star athletes Henry Harris in 1968, James Owens in 1969, through my years in the 1970s and into the 1980s with athletes like Byron Franklin. Rush was glad to see me and vice versa. We both age, and Rush, frail, showed me the medical portal as he was beginning dialysis. Those few minutes we were able to spend meant a lot to the both of us. Rush asked about Mitzi and some of the other athletes who were there, and I filled him in. What is considered history to many was an integral part of our lives. I comment on the photos on the wall, of which I am proud to say that I am one. In those days, Rush was a hero. Rush got to be a hero to the athletes who were heroes on the other side of the tracks. Our G-list guest today is Reneisha Bolden. She is an Auburn women's basketball letter winner and member of the 2009 SEC championship team. Reneisha is in her sixth season serving our alma mater as Director of Student Athlete Success for Auburn women's basketball. In her role, she oversees academic support for the team, assists with onboarding incoming student athletes, and collaborates on practice scheduling and day-to-day team logistics. We look forward to having that conversation. Our show today, of course, is brought to you by the consulting firm of Best Girl Inc. So let's hear from Best Girl.
Best Girl is a consulting firm that provides customized leadership, access and inclusion, public relations, communications, and organizational consulting services. Clients include Fortune 500 companies, utilities, higher education institutions, small businesses, and associations. Best Girl's team of consultants, led by Joyce Gilly-Gossam, Emily Hedrick, and Sean Jones, partners with business and education clients to promote organizational effectiveness, communication, motivation, and leadership, with always an impact on the bottom line. Best Girl's customized consulting services include strategic planning, corporate communication, executive coaching, fundraising, and economic development.
Best Girl continues to customize the solution that fits your needs. So let's go to the round table now and meet with Barbara Wallace Edwards and Michael Walker. Good morning, Barbara Wallace Edwards. How you doing this morning?
Good morning, sir. I'm doing well. How are you this morning?
I'm fine. How are you now? Everything good?
Everything's good. No accidents this past weekend. No issues. I'm doing good.
Okay, so what's happening in your world?
Well, Tom, there's just so much stuff in the news. As I mentioned earlier, I don't even know where to start. Personally, I don't have a lot going on, except this week is the Regions Golf Tournament here in Birmingham. So we'll probably have a lot of activity in our city. This is a senior golf tour that comes to Birmingham every year. So it's going to be a lot of things happening in Birmingham this week.
Good deal. Good deal.
Yes.
Michael Walker, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well, TG. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well. I'm doing very well.
Okay, Barbara, good morning to you.
Morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. I see you recovered from that left jab you took.
Stitches out, healing fine. Yeah, everything's going well. Thank
That's
you.
good to know. Like you say, there is a lot going on,
Yes.
But I like to start with something that's kind of interesting. Delta Airlines is the number one airline, I think.
I
And,
think so.
they have that slogan, Delta is ready when you are.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Delta did something very interesting not too long ago, where they left Atlanta with X amount of passengers, and they gained one on the way between Atlanta and Portland. A lady had a baby in midair traveling from Atlanta to Portland on a Delta Airlines flight.
Mm.
And it was just so fortunate that there was a doctor and two nurses that happened to be on that flight and were able to assist. And by the time they landed at Portland International Airport, they had paramedics and everybody, and they were able to take them to the hospital. But could you imagine that? And just imagine the child. Where were you born?
Yeah, in the
In the
air.
air?
Somewhere over between Atlanta and Portland. That's strange. Normally, when a mother's in her, last trimester, they suggest they not travel. So I wonder what the situation was that required her to travel.
I don't know. That's what I was thinking about, Barbara. Exactly.
Right.
I thought that, her OBGYN would have said, hey, you don't need to travel at this time and what have you.
Right. Right.
I don't
And
know.
it could have been a premature birth. You don't ever know.
Probably
But
was, I'm thinking.
yeah, maybe
Yeah.
so. Because
Yeah.
that would be odd. I would think, and again, unless it was some type of an emergency, you normally don't try to travel, especially by air.
If
Yeah.
if everybody came out safe, they got a great story to tell.
They do.
Tell
They
that
do.
story for the next
They
30
really
years.
do.
Man, I was
Yes.
born on an airplane.
Right.
And,
Right.
and I'm sure that this I don't know if it's little girl, little boy, didn't say, but can you imagine her getting up and being a spokesperson for Delta and talk about how safe Delta is and
Yeah.
how, oh man, that's just a marketing thing right there, man.
Yeah, I was
That's
gonna say Delta needs to really jump on that and sign them to some type of contract now.
yes. And just think about how many things that had to go right.
Right.
Because many times in birth, there's a C-section required,
Exactly.
depending on the size of the baby and whether or not the mother's hips are wide enough, that could have been an issue. And they were just so fortunate
You need
that
a
none
very
of that.
sterile, normally need a
Wonder
very
if they were
sterile
sitting in
environment.
first and comfort or sitting in
Right.
the back where it's pretty crowded. It would have
Yeah,
been kind of hard to deliver a baby back there.
I'm
But,
telling you.
so,
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
wondering if they put her in the aisle on the floor or something. I assume they had to do that because, they need to be able to push.
okay,
I
I
don't
think
think you can
we're
push.
frozen.
Right.
Oh,
And then you have to have a sterile environment normally too, and again, what do the other passengers do? That they have to move from that area? You would think, because you need privacy there. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know how they pulled it off, but I'm glad they did, and everyone's fine.
yeah, absolutely. Mm.
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly. I've got one for you guys. Michael, you probably remember this guy. His name was Charles Shackelford. He played in the NBA. And this would have been his 60th birthday weekend. He played in the NBA in the 80s and 90s. He died in 2017. Played in 6 seasons, and he found success as a champion in Europe. But he played for 4 different teams in the NBA: the Nets, the Wolves, and the 76ers and the Hornets. But he got famous for this quote that he made in an interview after a game. He says, "I can shoot with my left hand. I can shoot with my right hand. I'm amphibious."
That's a good one.
He's
Oh my
amphibious.
I'm not ambidextrous. I'm
No,
amphibious.
amphibious, yeah. Interesting.
Anyway, I thought that was pretty funny.
That is
I
funny.
remember the guy. I didn't hear him when he said it at the time, but that's one of those quotes that'll live with you. Live longer than he did.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think he played at NC State or somewhere in that area for some reason.
I think you're right. I think you're
Okay.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can shoot with my left hand. I can shoot with my right hand. I'm amphibious. Okay, Charles.
And just imagine if Howard Cosell had been there. He was saying,
Right.
what does that mean?
That's funny.
Yes.
Who else, Michael? You got something else?
Yes, I do. Sorry to do this to you guys, but this is a story. It's a very tragic story, but it's one that's worth being told. This 24-year-old guy by the name of Karen Lacey out of LSU. He was projected to be a top 50 player in this past draft that came up. And unfortunately, he got caught up in a situation in which the Louisiana police blamed him for an accident that killed another person and that he left the scene of. And in actuality, after a full and thorough investigation was done, they found out that he did not cause the accident. You know how you have these roads that are 2-lane roads, you know, in one lane in opposite direction. You know, when we were taught driving, we were always told that if that solid line is on your side of the road, you don't pass over there. You only pass when it's dotted lines all the way through. You don't pass going around a curve, over hill, all these type of things. I remember my grandfather teaching me about driving on the road like that.
Right.
The only thing this guy was guilty of was probably passing on a solid center line. Mm-hmm. Okay. But there was another car that was coming in the opposite direction or something like that. And a truck was also coming, and a car behind that truck was following too closely. And when the truck moved off of the road, this other car that was following too closely hit an elderly person. But the guy, Karen, had gotten back into his lane, okay, and had gone up, and he stopped to look at the accident and stuff, and then he left. But the police somehow blamed him for it. He got arrested. His reputation was ruined, and you know, I think he was even arrested or something like this, and he felt so bad. And I don't think he had any
few issues.
Huh? What you say?
I'm not sure what Tom said. I think he's frozen.
Okay, but what happened was that he committed suicide.
Yes.
And he committed suicide, like, I think 2 days before they were overturning his charges, and nobody communicated this to him.
It's a sad situation.
I mean, you know, if they had just even been, like I said, nobody was talking to this young man, and he felt like everybody hated him. That's the title of the article. Everybody hated him. Wow. And now his family, they're seeking legal recourse against the two officers, because it was their testimony and the things that they did that caused this person's death, is what the lawyer is saying. So it'll be interesting to see how that turns out.
I was hoping his family would try to seek some type of recourse for that, because that was a terrible situation.
Yeah, absolutely was.
Yeah. And Michael, you brought up the draft. I want to congratulate all the gentlemen who were selected in the NFL draft last week. But I have a very interesting story about the draft. There's a 21-year-old, 6'4", 306 pounds, 6% body fat. And he runs 40-yard dash in 4.6 seconds. Never played football, and he was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles. This young man defines the word specimen. His name is U.R. Bernard. He's from a small village in Nigeria and was selected by the Eagles with the 251st overall pick. So in the seventh round of this 2026 draft. I've never heard of anything like that before, but that is unbelievable. He's definitely a specimen of an athlete.
Now, what was his measurable? You say 6'4", 305,
306
306.
with 6% body fat. Yeah. It runs the 40-yard dash in 4.6 seconds. Isn't that something? Never played football before, but the Eagles are taking a chance on him. So, yeah, I think that's very interesting.
Well, if he doesn't make it, he can probably have a career in Hollywood as being the second version or iteration of the Hulk.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll see. Be
Yeah.
interesting to follow him.
Tom, what position would you think he would play?
Right tackle. No, on the offensive line.
Yeah.
Or on the, even on the defensive line. Just
Right.
depends.
Yeah.
If
That's
he
what I
can
was thinking.
Make the adjustment. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not that strange for the Eagles. They generally go out on a limb with players.
Okay.
They take players that, they end up with Saquon because the Giants let him go.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. Who's Barbara? You got something else, Michael? You got anything else?
Yeah. I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
Michael.
Go ahead, Barbara.
I've got this other story about this gentleman who owned a.
Hey, Barbara, can you speak up, please?
I'm sorry, Tom. Yes, I said I've got this gentleman who played in a. He owns a car lot, Mr. Cody Bell. He's warning car lot owners to be careful when they're allowing customers to test drive a vehicle. He lost a $14,000 Dodge Durango after a customer took it on a test drive, and never returned it. He left him with his jalopy that's about, he said it's valued about $200. But the man came in at almost closing time, said he visited their car lot several times before and took the car out for a test drive, said he was just running to the bank to clear up some last minute finances before he brought them back the check to pay for the vehicle, and never came back.
Well, if it was a $14,000 car,
It
they
wasn't
probably
him.
didn't get too upset over it. Somebody
Right.
running couldn't have been. $14,000 won't get you much of a car these days.
That's true. But when he left, there was valued at only $200. So
Yeah, yeah.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny.
yes,
Well, the elephant in the room is the assassination attempt. So, it's interesting how the rhetoric has changed now. It's all the rhetoric that's coming from the Democratic side of the aisle that caused this attempt to be made. Okay. Well, now, the problem that I have with that, most of the rhetoric has been coming from the quote target in this. So now how do you kind of turn that around? And I'm just being honest. I'm just asking the question from what I've seen. And so now there's a problem with this. And so now because of this, we need to build that ballroom out there. Okay. That ballroom needs to get built. Okay. It's just kind of interesting that, number one, this guy that did this, I don't know why he did it or what have you, but I mean, it showed a lot of flaws in
right.
the security and what have you. But it's just a very strange situation.
I agree, Michael. It's very strange. And, within an hour of all of this happening, they knew all this man's information. They knew his, his address, what his career was, everything about him. So it's like, it it's almost like they knew something about
And he
him
happened
before
to leave notes in his hotel room. He left notes for him in his hotel room.
Yeah,
Come on, man. You know,
it all sounds a little strange. And did you see the gentleman who was
well,
still sitting at the table eating his salad after all this stuff happened? And then, you know, all the staff and Melania and all of them after it happened was standing around with laugh. You know, someone took a picture of them. You know, 15 minutes after this happened, they're all backstage laughing and joking. So it doesn't seem like anyone was really scared at all.
Yeah, you know, they're saying that some people thought it was tray dropping and stuff and all this. I don't know. I'm not a gun expert, but I think I can tell the difference between a tray dropping and a gun
Right.
shot.
I
I've
think I
heard
can
enough
too.
to know the difference, right?
Right.
But some of the other things that I find interesting is that one Secret Service man took a bullet to the chest, but he'll be okay because he had on his protective vest. So allegedly, it was the guy that shot him. Now they're coming back and saying, well, they don't know who shot him, how he got shot. It may have been friendly fire, but and also the same one that took a bullet to the chest, he shot off 5 rounds at the guy and then missed every time.
Right. Yeah, they said,
Oh,
Michael,
Lord.
I read this morning, they said like 8 shots were fired and nobody was shot. So,
Yeah.
like, what?
And the guy, the perpetrator, he was not hit. He tripped and fell.
Right.
But the
It's
strange thing about that is, how did you trip and fall and you don't have a shirt on? Were you running
Yeah.
through that? Because you weren't running through that without a shirt. It's just a lot of strange stuff that was going on.
Very,
It's also
very strange.
interesting that every time something is, you know, the Iran thing has gone off the tracks. So now here's a distraction.
Come on with it now.
Nope,
That's what I'm
don't look
thinking.
over there. Look over here. You know,
Right.
the Epstein thing was about to blow up. Then something happened. Something always
Right.
happens. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, so we'll just leave it at that. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of strange. That's all. I'm just looking at it. I'm not
It
going
is
one way
strange.
or the other. I'm just saying it's strange.
It is very
Yeah.
strange, Michael. And like I said, within 1 hour, they had this man's picture, his name, his address, videos. They had, you know, all the stuff from his room, all within 40 minutes of the incident taking place.
Right.
And this guy was very smart. Okay, he has an engineering degree from Cal Tech, or I think one of the top engineering schools. Then he went on and got his master's. He's developing a video game, and he lives with his parents. His father's a minister and a teacher. So these are highly educated people. And
Right.
and they on the newscast, they're saying this guy's like genius and stuff. I'm like, a lot of this stuff just doesn't make any sense at all, to be honest with you.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you. But it isn't the first time we've had some improv. You remember the guy hiding in the bushes with the rifle sticking through the bushes?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
And,
like,
and the ear being shot, but then there's no injury, you know, there's no scar, there's
Yeah.
nothing there.
Yeah.
All of
Yeah.
that stuff sounds suspect.
yeah.
The timing is very odd because, Tom, you're talking about the White House Correspondents' Dinner. This is where a bunch of journalists are.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Right.
And it's always been lax like that. And you've
Right.
never had an issue whatsoever. Okay.
Right.
But this year, they weren't going to have any comedians because
Right.
comedians always make jokes about the president. Regardless of who the president is,
Right.
they make jokes about the president.
Right.
And this president is pretty thin-skinned in terms of people making fun of him.
Did you all see the 60-minute interview on Sunday where they were
I heard
actually
about it.
interviewed?
I heard about it.
Yeah, I saw excerpts of it, and it was very interesting when the journalist asked him about the started reading the manifesto from the person alleged person that was going to be the shooter, and she started talking about, you know, he said he could no longer support a pedophile, a rapist, blah blah blah, and Trump jumps in and is like, I'm not a rapist. I'm not. She said, did you think it was referring to you? It was hilarious
Right.
because he didn't name anyone in his manifesto,
Right.
you know. So Trump basically told them to self. But yeah, it was very interesting.
Trump told her, "You're horrible people."
Right.
So Barbara, I'm
Yeah.
talking to you one-on-one, and I'm
Right.
upset with you, and I'm gonna say, I knew you were gonna read that. I was just waiting for it because you are horrible people. Wouldn't I say you are a horrible person rather than
Yeah.
you are horrible people? I'm just
Yes.
wondering.
Yeah.
You know.
You're absolutely right, Michael.
Okay.
You reckon he's amphibious? Who knows?
Maybe
Anyway,
that's it. Maybe that's it, Tom.
let's go to Sean. She's got a minute for us this morning. Good morning, Sean. You got a minute?
Good morning to everyone joining in with us. My name is Shantia Jones, and this has Got a Minute. It's Tuesday, and honestly, some of y'all are stressed. Why? Because you keep volunteering for things that nobody asked you to do. You said yes, you showed up early, you gave 110% to a situation that deserved like a solid 40. And now you're tired, you're irritated, and you're confused. Well, don't worry, because let me help you. Not everything deserves your full version. Some people get the deluxe package, others need like a free trial with limits. Today's assignment: scale it back. Not your standards, your access. Not your effort, your availability. And honestly, if they're not acting premium, why are you giving them luxury? That's it. That's your minute. I want all of y'all to go out and have a great day. And if you don't want to, then don't go out ruining anybody else's, because they can do that for themselves. Thank you all for joining in. My name is Shantia Jones, and this has Got a Minute.
Sean. Michael, before we go to the G list, Josh, you remember Rush, don't you?
Oh yeah. Rush used to cut my hair too because he was right up the street from me.
That's
Even-
right. That's right.
Yeah. Even when I was like, I think elementary school, I get on my bike and ride up the street to Rush.
He still got all those photos on the wall.
Does he?
All the
And
guys came over there to get haircuts and stuff.
He's still cutting hair, Tom.
Yeah, there was nobody in the shop when I went, and so we got
Okay.
a chance to sit and talk. He's kind of frail.
Okay.
He wasn't a vibrant Rush
Right.
that we were all used to. But you know, he said he's been in the shop since 1966, and I think he'll probably be there until the end comes.
Yes.
But it was good to talk to him. He was glad to see me. He asked me why I hadn't been to see him. I said, well, hell, I'm here now. Why you fussing at me? Of course, he always asks about Mitzi. And he had I guess you call it a port in his arm. But he said he was on dialysis. But it was good to see him. And he said that what's the gentleman's name who owns the shop, Michael?
Ralph Foster.
He said Mr. Foster and his wife were sick.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Okay.
they were good. Mr. Foster took care of a lot of the black athletes when they came. He took care of Henry and James when they got there, and they didn't have, a whole lot of love, I guess, from the others. So anyway, so let's move on. Hollywood's got the A list, and here on Tuesdays with Tom, we have the G list. And our G list guest today is Reneisha Bolden. She is an Auburn women's basketball letter winner and member of the 2009 SEC championship team. She's in her 6th season serving her alma mater as Director of Student Athlete Success for Auburn's women's basketball. Let's welcome Reneisha here. Good morning. How are you? Thanks for being with us.
Good morning. I can't hear.
Oh, okay. Sean may be able to rectify that situation.
I can hear you, Barbara. I can't hear Tom.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Michael.
Okay.
Okay. Sean will take care
Tom's
of
is
it.
who I can't hear.
I'll
Okay.
go ahead.
Do you want to go ahead and just get started? Reneisha, we were
Go
very
ahead.
happy. We're happy to have you here, Reneisha. Thank you for
I'm happy to
being
be
with
here.
us.
Thank you
Thank you.
for inviting me.
Absolutely. And we can just kind of hang loose and talk about all things Auburn basketball and your role and what you do. Barbara, would you like to start off?
I will. Thank you so much for joining us, Riri. It's good to have
Thank
you
you for
with us
having me.
today. And let's start with your back to your high school days. I knew you're from Huntsville, Alabama. Played at J.O. Johnson High School. You were,
JLJ, yes, yes.
yes, you were, you know, All American, first team All State, 5A Player of the Year, Gatorade Player of the Year as a senior, earned All City MVP, All Area MVP during your senior season at J.L. Johnson. So, what made you choose Auburn?
Wow, it's good to hear those stats. I forgot
Yeah,
about those. It's always good to hear that I had a little juice back in the
you
day.
had a lot of juice
Um,
back in the day.
Yeah, so my sister, she chose Auburn in 2005, so she was the first, and we went by the Hobbs sisters. And so she chose Auburn in 2005, and I narrowed my schools down to Auburn and Georgia. And I went on my visit to Georgia, and it was okay. But I always knew in my mind that I was going to go just to Auburn because, one, just growing up in a single parent household, it was just easier for my mom to be able to come watch both of her kids at one institution. So just when I arrived here on campus, the instant family, or just the family atmosphere, just the love shown, how could you not choose Auburn? So that was a huge reason why I chose Auburn, already having a sibling here.
Very good. And your sister, talk about your sister and playing with her back in those
Oh,
days.
it was amazing. It was amazing. My sister currently is the head coach at Bob Jones High School. This past year, they lost in the state championship. This is her second year
Saw that.
coaching at Bob Jones. But just playing with her was phenomenal because one thing I knew she was going to do was hold me accountable. She was going to tell me things that other players couldn't tell me, and I would
Right.
respond to it. But just having somebody that you've been in this role with your entire life, being by your side throughout your collegiate career, um, I wouldn't have it any other way, and I wouldn't be the person I am today if it wasn't for some of the things she did for me just growing up and just throughout our collegiate career.
That's great.
Okay. We can check and see if Tom can be heard. Tom, do you have your audio working yet?
If you hear me and Barbara hear me, it's okay. I can just
Okay.
y'all can translate what I say to Reneisha. She
Okay.
can't hear me. I think there's some weather somewhere. We're having some station, but we'll just keep going. We're on the bottom. We're on the downside. So
Okay.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Renisha, I want to ask you, I have like two separate items to talk to you about, but the first
Hmm.
one I want to ask you about is your role as director of student athlete success at Auburn.
good
Tell us
talking.
what goes into that. And one of the things that I noticed, and I don't know if this is a part of it, but just to give you a little bit of context as why I'm interested is when Auburn was recruiting Michaela and I went on to visit with her. And throughout that process, they kept talking to her that she would have a life coach assigned to her that she would meet with regardless, just to find out what's going on in her life. And then also teach them about doing a checkbook and other things and buying groceries and what have you, that
Hmm.
type of stuff. Does this have anything to do with it? But I was impressed with that, by the way, that was a part of the program.
Oh yes, most definitely. Let me give you a backstory. When Coach Flo first called me and offered me the job back in 2019, I came in as her special assistant to the head coach. So I did that for her for 2 years, and I did that for Coach Johnny Harris for 2 years. And then I went in and I talked to Coach Harris. I was like, Coach, I want to change my title. I want my title to align with what I'm really doing. I can still do some of the stuff that I'm doing for the head coach, but I just wanted to make sure that I was marketable when it came to my resume and on paper. And we ended up changing the title because I actually first saw the Director of Student Athlete Success title at the University of Tennessee. So, I made sure I went in there with all my ducks in a row because, at Auburn,
Right.
they want to make sure everything is where it needs to be. And so they changed it. But just with that, I was a social worker. That was my major at Auburn. I worked in therapeutic foster care for 5 years. Then after that, I went on to Alabama State University, where I served as the athletic academic advisor. So, you got the social work, then I got the academics working with student athletes. And so, at Auburn, I'm dealing with academics. I'm dealing with onboarding, housing, practice schedule, alumni engagement, our donors club, So it was just very imperative that I had a title that when you looked at it, you're like, yes, that's Riri. But inside when it comes to my title, I deal with Auburn U. That's our life skills department. So just with that, you're focusing on character development, personal development, professional development. So just being a liaison to all of these different campus partners that focus on our student athletes. So yes, that's me. I'm the one that when you bring your student athlete to Auburn, I want to make a difference in their life, especially being a former student athlete, being a wife, being a mom, just being somebody that really loves Auburn. So it's fun that I get to do a lot of things in my role.
Okay. All right. Well, good for you. It fits you very well. So
Thank
Yes,
you,
it
thank you.
does.
the other question I wanted to bring up was, uh, tell me about your 4 years that you spent as a clinical lead supervisor for the Alabama Mentor Therapeutic Foster Care Agency.
Awesome. I really enjoyed that. That really gave me a perspective just on social work and their core values. But at Alabama Mentor, which now I want to say that it's called Savita, but they had multiple companies in the state of Alabama, and it was therapeutic foster care that focused on clients that had. I don't even think they use Axis One diagnosis anymore, but they had therapeutic behaviors. So I dealt with kids with depression, anxiety, oppositional defiance, and things of that nature. We had 6 programs housed in Alabama Mentor, and DHR was our partner. So housed in Alabama Mentor, we had a licensed recruiter, and she would go out, recruit foster parents so we can license their homes. So we dealt with mother and infant, therapeutic foster care, medically fragile, specialized, step down. We had all of these programs, and we had foster parents that we utilized when we placed our foster children in their homes. So me being the clinical lead supervisor, I supervised 6. So it was your program manager, director, and then it was myself. And I did all the supervision. I was on call always. But I figured the system out. One thing I realized working with people, and that's why it has helped me to be so successful at Auburn, it don't cost to treat people kind. And I think people don't
Very true.
understand that. Do right by people. You're talking about you're dealing with young people who can't control the trauma that they were involved in. They're just looking for somebody to be a great listener, looking for somebody to give them praise. And so, just with being able to work in Alabama Mentor, it helped me to be a great academic advisor for athletics because I was a student athlete. And what we all know, mental health is real. It's real. And so just being able to, when I worked at Alabama State, carrying it over to Auburn University, now being the director of student athlete success, I feel like in all those areas I worked in has allowed me to, one, I'm on my 3rd coach, leadership change. I don't think a lot of people talk about that, but I'm grateful that when coaches come in, they retain me, right? They don't have to keep me. They don't. But I'm so honored that the recommendations and referrals that I get and the calls that people call on behalf of my name to keep me at my alma mater. I'm just so grateful for that. And it's just only because I do right by people and I treat people the way they're supposed to be treated.
Well, you've created the value proposition for them and they see the value because a lot of the things you talk about will also be put into the students so that they can be a good representative of the university as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you have all these tentacles. Good
Oh,
job.
yes, and back even to when Alabama Mentor, we went out to our homes weekly. So when I first started, I had like a caseload of 13, but then I was promoted within like 9 months. They created this position. It was a clinical lead position. It was not there when I first started. I was a program services coordinator, and so I ended up telling my boss at the time. I was like, look. I still want to go out to these homes. So it's like 4 kids that I cannot give up. And so I still went out to their homes and provided therapeutic foster care services. And you also provide them to the client and you provide them to the parent. I mean, at that time, our census got up to like 55. Auburn was the smallest Alabama, they were the smallest company within Alabama Mentor in the state. When I tell you we got up to being one of the biggest companies, of course Birmingham was the biggest because just Jefferson County is just huge, right? But you're talking about retaining our kids. So many adoptions went on because of course they have permanency plans, reunification with family, adoption, emancipation, etc. So just to see our clients come in and they get to their permanency plans, like we get them to that point, I think that's the most beautiful thing. That's like winning the SEC championship, because we came in with a plan and we executed the plan. It's the same thing with Alabama State when they graduate, and then same thing here in basketball. So it all aligns with each other.
Great, great. Barbara?
Yes, Reneisha, I know back during the day your playing time in the NIL did not exist. You all came to Auburn for the value of getting your education, you had a scholarship, and just loyalty, playing ball. How has NIL changed the game today?
It's changed the game so much. It's so different now. Even me being, a former student athlete, and just seeing the landscape of it. Don't get me wrong. I feel like it's always pros and cons to everything. I like the fact that students can come in and be compensated for their name, image, and likeness. I do. But I think we went away from it a little bit because originally you were supposed to come in and be able to get your own endorsements and, bring yourself. But now it's just like a money game, right? So I think that's the different part because when I chose Auburn because people was just nice to me. And then my sister was there. If PSAs knew where we stayed in the extensions, we wouldn't get no student athletes today.
Right.
They knew some of the
Right.
things, our locker rooms, would nobody want to come here. So just to see
Right.
the enhancement of our facilities, and to be able to secure some of these athletes, I applaud that. My concern is, are you just coming to Auburn because they offer you a lot of money? Or are you coming to Auburn because you see that, one, you're still going to get an education? That's still important. Like I tell our student athletes, these transcripts follow you. Again, you got
Right.
to be able to get in school. You have to be eligible. So understand that. And ultimately, again, a coach can control your playing time. But when you get your degree, you're the owner of it. That's yours. So me still finding how can I still, in my role, still be important, right? Because kids
Right.
coming in, there's only two things they want to do. They want to do that player development meeting, and they want to do this collective meeting, this NIL meeting. Now, anything else, campus tours and stuff that wowed us, it's just kind of
Right.
like, okay, I'll do it because it's on the itinerary. But, for me, I'm still gonna sell that because again, you're only gonna be able to You're only gonna be able to dribble the ball for so long.
That's right.
That's right.
What are you gonna fall back on, right?
Right.
What are you and it's still my duty to give you tools and resources to be successful. So sometimes I find myself like, dang, am I still making a difference? But then you get that one little person like, man, Coach Riri, man, you changed my life. I'm like, I did, you just don't know. So that was keeping me pushing forward. That it don't matter if I don't change 300 student athletes. The fact that I can touch one or two during that time, I'm still doing my job.
Absolutely. That's
Uh,
great.
Reneisha, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, you back in. I can hear you, Mr. Coach.
Okay. I got a question for you. So,
Mm-hmm.
we all three, well, all four of us, Auburn people, and have an allegiance. What do you think about these kids today who transfer from school to school to school? How do they decide where they're going to have their allegiance one day?
You, I don't know if they're gonna go to four homecomings or one. Again, I'm still trying to. I think Tom set me up with that one. I'm still trying to figure that one out. But I look at it like this: if you got four allegiance, if you got two, if you're coming while I'm at Auburn, I'm going to make this your last stop. That's my goal. You know, I'm going to show you that authenticity matters, transparency matters, accountability matters. When you step on this campus, you're going to get that here. I can't tell you what you're going to get when you go to other institutions because, again, like I told you guys earlier, everybody are like car salesmen. I'm trying to do everything I need to do to secure this deal. But I will say Auburn people are authentic people. They're real people. What you see here in Auburn is what you're going to get. And at the end of the day, you know, it goes back to the parent, right? it goes back to the parent. And so for me, it's very important when they come here and whoever that they're representing them, if they're parents, their agents, however, having conversations with them because they're the ones who have their ear. I can sit there and do a 30 to 45-minute spiel, but it's just kind of like getting to know what's important to them, right? Getting to know that what's important to them. But it's different when they come into 4 different schools, Tom, it is. But for me, I just want to make their 365 days, is that all we have? I just want to make that's one to remember. And I can say this, every student athlete that's left Auburn wants to be back here.
Good. Good for you.
Because it's
That's
bigger
good.
than basketball.
Yes.
Well, let me ask you, speaking of basketball, how do you develop players now with this transfer portal, or do you not? Is it
You do. Taja Cole, she's our player development coach. She does a great job with our student athletes off the court because player development is on and off the court. I consider myself off the court a player development, right? You want to develop them in multiple facets. But I think from a player standpoint, now that the WNBA is making 1 million, like kids are like in the gym now. Like they're really like, with women's basketball is on the rise. So it's just kind of like now they're a little more motivated because, years ago, WNBA really wasn't making any money. It's just kind of like I can just go get a regular job and make the amount of money that they're making in the WNBA. But the WNBA is such on the rise. Shout out to the WNBA and their leadership. I think student athletes now like, man, I can go play in the WNBA or I can go play overseas. So I feel like the work ethic is really now there. It's really there now. And so Taja Cole does a good job with our student athletes, just getting on the court with them with workouts. We have, great practice players who come in as well as managers to come in and get extra work with our student athletes. I just feel like the motivation is there now because one, they know that they're getting paid. So it's just kind of like I'm one of those ones, you getting all this money, you ain't in the gym, what you doing? This is your job. This is your job, right? We're trying to prepare you. So, again, if your shot broke, why you ain't in here every day getting up 500 shots? This is your job, right?
Yes.
It's like if I'm at a warehouse and we on production team, we got to meet production. We got to do everything we got to do to meet production. So, it's just like you preparing them again. So I think now with the money being in place, it's kind of like you use that and like, hey, I don't know how much some of them getting, but if you getting, you getting 100,000, I'm just saying, again, put the work in.
Are there
Um,
are there athletes on the team who don't get money?
yeah, everybody pretty much gets money now with the rev share.
Who just go to?
Oh,
Everybody
Okay.
pretty much now gets
Okay.
money with the rev
Yeah.
share because you're still getting your scholarship, you're still getting your cost of attendance check. So again, you're still getting some type of monetary. And then you can negotiate at the end of the year, but they're gonna bring them stats in there. Again, you're gonna say this is what you're worth, but then they're gonna come back, this is what you did. So, it's like a back and forth thing, just like if I just got a job, hey. Either this gonna be a promotion or demotion or a lateral move. Again,
Right.
we gotta speak in that terminology because this is life.
Absolutely. Yes, it is.
Okay.
So true.
That's interesting. That's really interesting.
And
So it's different.
you mentioned you were blessed enough to work under 3 coaches there at Auburn: Coach Flo, Coach Harris, and now Coach Vickers. And I know last year was Coach Vickers' first year. He basically started out with the clean slate. I don't think he had any players there when he
He
came.
did, and we was able to retain Soraya and Caitlin.
Okay, that is awesome. And so this year, to talk about recruiting, how's that going for
It's going great. I do feel like the pieces that we've added to our women's basketball program are great pieces that's necessary. Coach really focused on a lot of size this year. So, in the SEC, you got to have some size. Again, if you're trying to compete with the big dogs, you got to have some size. And I like that we went to go get an experienced point guard. And then we got some young ones, some sophomores that were pretty solid at their schools. We just want to get one more. If we can get this one more, I think that would complete our puzzle. But I'm definitely really liking the direction that we're headed in under the Vickers era. Super excited about this group of young women because, again, I don't think anybody talks about it. We got one graduating this Friday. We have 3 graduating in the summer. So I'm super excited about that because it's still in, again, your graduation success rate is everything too. So for a coach to come in his first year, completing his first year, you got 4 of your kids and then it'll be 5. She'll finish in December, to be able to graduate all your kids, I think that's a flex. But recruiting is going well. Super excited about this group coming in. And again, we just can't really wait till they hit here on campus. Everybody will report at the end of May, and we're just super excited about this year. And the goal is to make the NCAA tournament. It's to make the NCAA tournament is to be middle, at least middle in the pack. So we do have goals. Again, we don't want to be sitting at home while everybody is watching the selection show this year. We want to be there in our Nike and our new sweatsuits and new shoes, and everybody's making noise. So I'm super excited about this year, and I can't wait to work with our young people.
Let me ask you a question here. Angel Reese just got traded to the Atlanta Dream from Chicago Sky, and so there's been a big, welcoming her here and all of this type of stuff. She said something kind of curious the other day, that she was willing to take the fine after every game rather than talking to the media. And I just found that kind of interesting that she would make that statement. And I don't know if you heard it, but tell me, from your perspective, why do you think she would say that? Or
because the media just looks for clickbait and they try to scrutinize people. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I like Angel. I think she's a great brand for our the WNBA culture. She's very liked. But I also feel like, again, Mike, Tom, Barbara, when you got a little emotion, people gonna hate. That's what it is. When you're authentically yourself, people don't like it. Again, I went to go see the Michael movie. And I've been lately, my baby's been watching it because I took her with me, my 11-year-old. But to see how they really scrutinized Michael has really made me emotional these last couple days, because I went back and I started watching his interviews, and I see why in the movie he did not want to do PR. He did not want to deal with the media. And then they make up all of these false stories and false accusations. And one thing about a lie, we all know it travels really fast. The truth travels slow.
Very fast.
And I'm bringing up Michael because I feel like it's the same situation with Angel. You get tired of people bashing you. And then when you respond, they want to tell you how to respond. No, I'm going to respond on how I feel.
Right.
So I don't blame her, because she's been bashed in this media for some time now, and I'm sure she's just tired of it. You get to a point where you got to stand for something, Michael and Barbara. You just do. And, again, just been watching Michael lately. I just feel bad for all the stuff that I used to hear and I believe, and we didn't even know that was true, but it was a lie that was just traveling, and it had everybody to make believe that. So I see why that Michael movie is really touching a lot of people, and I see why Angel is feeling the way that she feels with the media.
Yeah, I get that. Great answer. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but you are right about that on so many levels, because when you're dealing with the media, they're also trying to make a name for themselves. So
exactly.
If you have a brand, whether it's in politics or sports or whatever, and you're interesting and people want to know more about you, they get to kind of ride your coattail. And the more controversial they can be, then the better. They kind of do it. They don't do it as well as Howard Cosell and Muhammad Ali did it.
Yeah, and look at the captions. They put a little sketchy caption up there, and you like, oh, wait. And then it's like, man, I know this story. Why did the caption read this?
Right.
It read it because it caught your attention. It was appealing.
Right.
To where you were going to then click on their article and give them a little clickbait and clout.
Yes.
And it's like, man, and when you finish with these folks, ought to be ashamed of themselves.
They should.
But then they're like little internet people, what they call them, internet thugs. You don't know who they are behind the keyboard. They never come out. They're anonymous. And it's just kind of like, I don't even know who I need to respond to. So again, this media is crazy. Sometimes I get to the point where I want to take a social media cleanse, because it's just too negative. It's too negative.
That leads into another conversation with the girls on the team and what have you. Do you have any type of, how might I say it?
Social media training?
Training and policy about what to comment on, what to say, and when you need to stay off. How does that work?
I can say, like, again, with our student athletes, they're very sharp in ways. Like, they know that the coaches pretty much follow them on Instagram. They think Facebook is too lame, so they don't have a Facebook. And then with their TikTok and Snapchat, I'm not on TikTok and Snapchat. So I think if they're going to do anything that their friends may want to see, they may do it on the little TikTok or the Snapchat, but also too, you know, you have this close friends things. So they could be posting things where they're smart enough to where we don't see it, which I look at that as respect. You know, at the end of the day, you put your friends in there that know you, and if you want to post things that you feel like everybody publicly couldn't see, do that. Now, it's times early on I would have to screenshot and be like, hey, you think this appropriate? You might want to take this down. Not a good look. You know, things of that nature. But I can say overall, like, our student athletes do a pretty good job with what they put out on social media. And again, if they're putting something out they don't want us to see, they're going to hide us from it. You know, it's a lot of little gadgets you can do now with this social media to where they might block you for the weekend and then unblock you and then, you know, post it on their close friends, you know, so they're doing all types of things. But I still look at that as respect. They respect us enough to where we're not seeing it.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
I guess my only concern is like how you see, and I think it may be lessening because of the reclassification. But, you know, in the past where you see guys that are about to go to the NFL, NBA, or whatever, and then they're on social media taking a bong hit or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm talking about different things like that. And that comes from a judgment standpoint.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. And Michael, whatever they post, I don't think they realize, like, as soon as you post it, everybody has access to it. So you can delete it and somebody screenshotted it. So you need to be very, very careful on what you put on social, because once it's on there, right? And then people use this against you. You know, I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago, but they're going to dig up all of this information. And it's like, now you got to go on here and defend yourself and say this and that. But again, that's why you have to be cautious with the choices you make, because you can do 10 good things, but they're going to remember that 11th thing you did wrong.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that one
I
thing.
can say
That
I'm
one
on
thing.
social media quite a bit, and I have never seen anything, especially from
No, they do a great job. And me,
Yes.
I'm on their team. So if I see someone be like, hey, you want to take that down, it's not, you know, it don't look well. But again, when our student athletes come in, we have a director of creative content, Connor Putman. He talks to them about social media training, our SID, you know, our media people. They really educate our student athletes on, social media training. Also, too, they got to fill out a lot of compliance paperwork, you know, about this stuff. So if you breach these things, there are consequences to the choices that you make. So I think Auburn as a whole, we do a pretty good job. Our men do really good because they're such a brand. And so they don't even really post a lot of things. Even if you tag them, they're not sharing a lot of things. They're very conscious of the things that they put out there on their page. Because one, a lot of our men, too, they have a lot of followers. So they have to be very just cognizant of what they put out there.
True.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. Tom, you back with us, man?
For a minute. It keeps going in and out. I think there's some bad weather somewhere. Anyway, Reneisha, we want to thank you. Man, it's been enlightening. Just, you know, we watch what happens in athletics now from afar because of all the different fast things are moving and changing. So thank you for being with us. We appreciate it very
Robert,
much.
what does he say?
He's saying thank you so much for being with us. We've enjoyed having you today. Things are changing so much in athletics, and we're just watching from afar, but we want to thank you for what you're doing in Auburn.
And thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this conversation. You know, podcasting is definitely something in the future for me. Me and my sister always talked about it. So I do have it on my bucket list just to sit here and just have conversations. So I admire you guys and what you've done. And I just encourage you just to keep up a good work. You got a lot of people following you.
Well,
and
thank you very much. Thanks for coming. Tell Michaela you said hello.
Yes. And War Eagle. You know, we got to end with War Eagle since everybody on here can say it.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.
All right.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Reneisha. Well, I'm going to try and close it out. I don't know if you can hear me. Sorry. We apologize for all the disruptions this morning. Sometimes it happens. and it's not on our end; it's on StreamYard's end, the app we use, and so we can't. Sorry about that. I want to end up by saying that my wife and I attended a retirement event at Auburn this past weekend for Wanda Sparrow. She was the former secretary of the Auburn University Foundation Board. About 70 people or so came to support Wanda. It was great. My relationship with Wanda occurred during my 8 years on the board and the 2 years when I chaired the board and became the face of the university's $1 billion campaign. Wanda was my guide. She was my right hand. She was willing to do things differently. It was just a wonderful, wonderful period of time. And she was given the star treatment at her reception, and she deserved every minute of it. Congratulations, Wanda. Enjoy your retirement. That's it for our show today. Sorry for all the disruptions. Thank the audience. We appreciate you. Thank our G-list guest, Reneisha Bolden. Thanks again to the TWT team, Barbara, Sean, Emily, Michael, Joyce. And as always, a special thanks to you, the audience. And that's it for this April 28th in the year 2026. Remember, a day without a smile is a day wasted. If you got an extra smile, give it to somebody. It just might make their days. Enjoy yourself. Make every day count. Stay safe. Blessings. Peace.